Howdy y'all, welcome to Reading Note Names with Mr. J. In this video, we'll be talking about how to read the note names on the treble clef staff. The treble clef staff, also called the G clef, is called the G clef because it looks like the letter G, but it also circles the G line. Notice that there are 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we count them from bottom to top. There are 4 spaces between the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 spaces. Each line and space gets a letter name. We use the letters A through G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. After we get to G, we repeat that pattern. We go back to A again and then continue in the alphabet. When our notes go up, meaning they ascend, we go to the right. When our notes go down, meaning they descend, we go backwards in the alphabet. So let's take a look. Let's start with the 2 notes that we already have named. They live on the second line. First line, second line. That's the one that the G clef circles. So that means that the letter G is going to go with those lines. So notice I've already labeled them with the appropriate letter. Here's how it works from there. My next note is 1 letter higher. Because I'm ascending, I'm going to go to the right in the alphabet. So I start at G, and I go to the right 1 letter. So that means that note is the letter A. My next note is 1 position higher than that. So I start at this letter A, and I'm going to go to the right one. So I start at A and go to the right 1 letter. That's B. From there, all you have to do is keep going up 1 letter at a time. A, then to the letter B, and then the next letter in the alphabet is C. You may have guessed then that our next one is D. And then our next one is E. And our next one is F. If I had one that was higher, it would be G. If I had one that was higher than that, we would keep following the alphabet pattern. Okay, before we go on to fill in blank 1 and 2, let's take a look down here. That's my eyeglasses. Aren't they awesome? This is why I teach band and not art. Okay, here we go. When I descend, I go down in my alphabet. I go backwards in my alphabet. So let's start at the letter G. And if I go down a note, I have to go down a letter. So I go down a letter here to the letter F. Same thing. If I go down another note, I start at that letter and I go down a letter. So the letter before F is E. Then the letter before E is D. So you can see that any note which lives in this space will always be called F. Any note which lives on this line will be called E. If I compare this note, let's call that number 2, and this note, number 1, if I compare number 1 to number 1 up here, notice that they both live on this bottom line. All notes which live on the bottom line in treble clef are called E. If I compare note 2 to note 2, all notes which live on this first space, the bottom space, are called F. Notice how that keeps my pattern consistent. I go E, up a letter to F, from F up a letter to G, and that lands me on the G line. From G up a letter to A, and so on and so forth. So ascending, we go up the alphabet. Descending, we go down the alphabet. So if my top line is F here, and I compare that to this note down here, notice that they're in the same location, the top line. If it's an F here, it will also be an F here. That means if I start at F and I go down a letter in the alphabet, start at F and go down a letter in the alphabet, you'll land at an E. If I start at E and go down a letter in the alphabet, I'll go to a D. If I start this note right here as a D and go down a letter in the alphabet, it'll become a C. And so on and so forth. I can fill in my next letters. I go B is down from C, and down from B is an A. Notice then that that completes my pattern correctly. After I go from A, I repeat the pattern again by going to G and then down from there. So this is how you do the treble clef staff ascending and descending. You start by finding the G line, which is indicated by the treble clef circle, and then you can ascend and descend to fill in the missing letters from there. Let's see, how do I change pages? There we go. There's a couple of ways to help you remember them. The names of our lines, ooh, where'd my pen go? There it is. I think I'm doing that right. The names of my lines, whoop, oh, I've lost my ink. Oh no. I've had to switch to my mouse. The names of the notes on my lines, from bottom to top, are E, G, B, D, and F. We say a couple of memory sentences to remember them. I teach at a school called El Paso Gridley. So we remember the names of our lines and spaces by saying El Paso Gridley Band does fantastic. If you don't teach at a school called El Paso Gridley, you could remember that every gummy bear drinks fudge. E, G, B, D, F. Or, if you like memes like I do, and you remember the Grumpy Bernie meme, you could say even Grumpy Bernie deserves friends. E, G, B, D, F. Even Grumpy Bernie deserves friends. For the names of our spaces, F is our bottom space, A is our second space, C is our third space, and E is our top space. If you put the letter F, A, C, and E together, you get the word face. And face rhymes with space. And that's a helpful memory tool because we put the word face in the spaces between our lines. So that's how you read the names of the notes on the lines and spaces in the treble clef.